KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
What a game! What a game!
Jim Schutze here with Get Off My Lawn. Nice to be back. Gene often when the labor beat describes me as radio's darkest hour. No, he says he's radio's darkest hour. We have a little competition going. I think I can outdo him on that score. This is Get Off My Lawn, which is the KNON community radio version of a column that I write every weekday on the webpage of the Dallas Observer, which is called Unfair Park. That's too many names of stuff. But I think if you Google me, Jim Schutze, it's SCHUTZE, you'll find your way to me. And in keeping with my theme of radio's darkest hour, I want to start out with a note that invariably makes me sad, which is the Don Hill matter. There's a story in the paper today that former councilman, former mayor pro tem Don Hill, who's serving an 18-year federal sentence for corruption, has got an appeal coming up. Also included in that appeal will be his wife, Sheila Farrington Hill, and his appointee to the Plan Commission, D'Angelo Lee, and Darren Reagan, community activist who was convicted in the same matter. We all remember the Don Hill trial. It went on and on and on, and it was the end of it was terribly sad for me. I'm not real good at deciding who's guilty and who's not. I'm always wrong about that by the time you get to the end of the trial. The evidence against former Councilman Hill was pretty overwhelming. It went on and on. You know, the feds don't mess around when they zero in on somebody like this. They did years of work to amass this case. About a month or so before the Hill trial started, I ran into Don Hill at Izzi's, an Italian carryout place in Oak Lawn. He was with his college-age daughter, who was very charming, beautiful, bright, great kid. And I was sort of struck by the fact that, Mr. Hill himself was very charming and a smart man. And I knew a lot of people who kind of did business with him when he was on the council, who came away very impressed with him. He was discussed as a potential future mayor of the city, all of which was cut short by this corruption trial. And as I say, the feds did a huge amount of work amassing this trial. It was a documentary record. It was also they had an informant. They had people who wore wires. If you sat through the trial, you heard this appalling recordings of D'Angelo Lee shaking down this developer, and I mean shaking him down. I mean. Where you're listening and you can't help thinking, if you were that guy, that developer, you had to be thinking maybe Mr. Lee was going to beat the tar out of you at some moment. It was that intense. So the evidence was overwhelming. However, I was there when the sentence came down, and it was just terrible. here's this bright, promising young guy who's, well, I don't know, he's young to me. He would be middle-aged to most of you. But he's going to spend the rest of his adult life in the federal slammer. And this family torn apart. It's impossible to watch something like that and not just have a sense of tragedy about it. Why did it have to go that way? And then you have to put it together, and this is, and I hope that some of you will call in. I have this disability. I can't remember our phone number, and it's covered up with wires, but you can tell me what it is.
The number is 972-647-1893.
972-647-1893. If you covered up my home phone number with those same wires, I wouldn't be able to remember that either. So thanks for your help. 972-647-1893. And I hope you'll call in with your feelings about this. You have to put the Don Hill trial together in this longer picture. The first one was Albert Lipscomb, who was tried in Amarillo and convicted on a zillion counts of corruption. Mr. Lipscomb was a beloved and charismatic and important leader in the city. I knew Al Lipscomb's personal history as an activist because of work I'd done. I wasn't here for it. I hadn't come to Dallas yet, but I did a lot of research on that period of history, and I also got to know the Reverend Peter Johnson of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and he told me great stories about Al Lipscomb back in the day, including one where they were about to go out on the picket line against a major grocery chain, and they were in the basement of a Lutheran church on what's now Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and they got a call that whoever was out there on that picket line, there was going to be shooting done. There were going to be people killed, and all these people were ready to go out, and they were in the basement of the church, and Reverend Johnson, who was an experienced organizer, said to Peter Johnson had been at the shoulder of Dr. King throughout the movement years all over the South, and he knew how to handle this stuff, and he got up and made an announcement. He said, well, we get these threats always, but we always take them seriously. Somebody's called and said there's going to be shooting, and I have to tell you all that, and I have to tell you that you don't have to go out on this picket line, and there will be no shame in anybody who decides not to. But we need to know who's going and who's not, so everybody who's going, go over on that side of the room, and everybody who's not, stay over here. And there was a long silence, and nobody moved. And it was Al Lipscomb who stood up and said, tell them to bring it on. He went over to the side that was going to picket, and pretty soon everybody else followed him. So Al was a man of physical courage and moral courage. As a young man, it was tragic to watch him trundled off to prison too. And he was the first, then later Don Hill. Now we have the evil prospect of the most powerful and long-tenured black elected official in the county. Commissioner John Wiley Price is the target of a huge federal probe. So we have this tradition of important black leaders in the city being picked off by these things. And I want to come back and talk about maybe why that is. We got Michael on line too. Michael, how are you this morning?
Oh, I'm doing great now, but I wasn't doing so great back in May 30th, 1972. You can verify this on the Irving Daily News. Back May 27th to 30th, 1972, a friend of mine named James Pegues, we put an anti-war rally together in Irving, Texas. And Irving, Texas is not the greatest place to put an anti-war rally together in 1972. The police there were...
I need to ask you, are we sort of coming back to anything that I've been talking about on the show? Or?
Right. The police came and arrested me for possession of marijuana, felony possession of marijuana 3 days after this anti-war rally that we conducted in Irving on May 27th, 1972. I want to invite your listeners to check it out to make sure it's verified and true. But yes, the police will sometimes, if you do something that the police don't like have an anti-war rally or conduct civil rights campaigns that benefit the poor people of this country, yes, the police will sometimes come and arrest you. And 3 days after this happened, I and James McGee's were arrested. Anyone who wants to check it out, say in the Urban Daily News. Yes, sir.
Hey, Michael, I thank you. This is an important point, and I appreciate it. I want to move back just in the interest of time to this theme of elected officials. Elected officials. We're not talking about people who are out there in rallies and so on. I've been on the dirty end of that stick myself back in the day, but we're talking about elected officials who are prosecuted on the basis of overwhelming evidence of corruption. The other thing we have to say here, I was talking about the tragedy and the sadness of these three people being prosecuted. Al Lipscomb, well, wait a minute, two people, Al Lipscomb and Don Hill, and we don't know what the end of the story is with Commissioner Price. Commissioner Price needs to benefit from a presumption of innocence until he's charged or something more happens in that case. In the first two, Lipscomb and Hill, the evidence was overwhelming. You couldn't argue that the police were framing them. In fact, the basic case, and this is the point I'm trying to get to, the basic case against them was not only that they were corrupt, but they had sold out their own community. You have to remember, that was the charge against Al Lipscomb, that he sold out minority businessmen of color in Dallas, especially in the cab business, by taking money and cash and other considerations from the white owner of a cab company. The allegation against Don Hill was that at a time when his own community was saying, we do not want any more subsidized housing. We'd like you to put some of that out around the rest of the city. We'd like you to share the wealth on subsidized housing. What we need in southern Dallas is neighborhoods and stable neighborhoods. Don Hill was accused of taking money in order to, and Don Hill said, oh yeah, I agree, that's my mission here in office, I'm going to support stable neighborhoods, but he was taking money to do just the opposite. And that's the key that you have to remember with these two guys. What they were accused of was selling out their own communities. Deborah on line 3, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to lament with you that I understand that dichotomy between knowing somebody and then also seeing what their behavior. And, you know, I think it was Winston Churchill that said power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be able to separate yourself from, you know, what you know about somebody. They're beautiful kids, they're smart, they're intelligent, and yet they're in these powerful positions that promote them, actually encourage them, all around them to become corrupt. And so that's why we have our laws, and that's why they have to do, they have to be held accountable and culpable for what they do.
Absolutely. Let me ask you something, though, Deborah, because this is what I found myself wondering, sitting there in the Don Hill trial. How can you, the amount of money involved was relatively modest. Don Hill still couldn't pay his water bills. It's not like he got rich. How, and I found myself wondering, Don, did you never see this potential outcome? Did you never worry about getting caught? Did you never worry about losing the rest of your adult life and your freedom in return for this pittance? I mean,
well, then that's just part of power. It could be that his ego was not attached to the money. His ego was attached to something higher, something that crossed over from morality to immorality, you know, very seamlessly to him. And that was the right thing to do.
I think
Because in both of these situations, you're talking about men who had the opportunity to rise up and do the right thing, and who absolutely were corrupted into believing that the wrong thing that they did was the right thing for them.
You know what? That's a that's a fascinating explanation, because that was exactly what I saw. A, he loved being in on the deal and feeling slick.
Right.
And B, he was convinced to the end that he had done nothing wrong.
Correct.
And I think he went to prison believing that.
And probably he, in his mind, felt that way, and that's why we have to have term limits. That's why we have to be able to have checks and balances to make sure that power is, no matter whether it's in your homeowners association or in national politics, that we have people that look for morality and doing the right thing and following the law. It doesn't matter how great you are. And it is sad when you see beautiful families torn apart, or committed people that don't have, that don't understand why them taking bribes is the wrong thing. So, that's what I would say. But I just also want to let you know that I'm a longtime reader, and I'm a huge fan of yours, so thank you so much for bringing this venue.
Well, Deborah, thanks. That's a very, very interesting insight on this whole thing. Thanks very much for calling.
Karen, I'm going to listen to you on things.
In this particular instance, in addition to just the sort of universal sadness of watching people mess up their lives, I think there's a singular political theme here, which has to do with this, which has to hang on one second. I think we got Michael here. Michael, what's up, Michael? Oh, okay, all right. There's a particular theme here that I want to come to, which is this connection between Southern Dallas black elected leadership, not to put too fine a point to it. That's what we're talking about, and the old white power structure here in Dallas. And we've had an instance of it in recent weeks that's been pretty interesting to watch. The most easily identifiable face of the old white power structure in Dallas is a group called the Dallas Citizens Council. And I've been writing about this in Get Off My Lawn and The Observer. In fact, I said I had lunch with a guy from out of town who'd never been to Dallas a whole lot. He was here checking out some local political issues, and we were talking, and he leaned across the table and he kind of whispered, and he said, I understand there used to be a group here called the Dallas Citizens Council, and they really ran stuff from behind the scenes. And I said, well, yeah, they're still here, and they're still running stuff. They're very, and he couldn't believe it. He kept saying, no, you can't have a group like that still here. In his mind, that the word Citizens Council was linked to the old white Citizens Councils that were all over the South during the DSEG battles. They were the downtown face of the Ku Klux Klan. That's maybe not so fair in the case of the Dallas Citizens Council, which was founded in 1937, before all those things were founded. But the guy I was talking to, I explained that. I said, well, this wasn't really one of the white citizens' councils. And he said, yeah, well, fine, but anywhere else in this country, they still would have changed their name by now to make sure they weren't confused with that. He thought it was amazing we still had a group like that. Hang on, we got Michael on the line. Wow, we've had 3 Michaels call up today. I'm wondering if it's all the same Michael. But now we got to go. You hear that sad music? That means I'm going away for a minute, and I'll be back after the break. Jim Schutze with Get Off My Lawn.
it's time to get rid of your old gas guzzler, the Knon Vehicle Donation Program can help. There is still a market for those old vehicles, and if you donate it, you are helping to support the quality programming here on KNON. Just call 877-KNON-AUTO or go online to knon.org. We'll take care of everything from pickup to tax paperwork. That's 877-KNON-AUTO.
This is Sonny Boy Mark, and I'd like to take a minute here to tell you about over 60 minutes of great blues listening available now on KNON's Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. This is some great stuff, folks. 15 tracks from the Two-Tones, Blues Boy Bo, Betty Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Colley, Johnny Red and the Roosters, the Chris Watson Band, the Rough Cut Blues Band, Jeff Stone with Charlie Love, David Millsap, Sir Loin and the Ass-Kicking Machine, Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, and JJ and the Detonators. The 1,000 copies we made are selling fast, and we won't reissue it. Get yours now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Record Town in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records and Rewind Music. The CD is available as a download at cdbaby.com. All proceeds benefit KNON, sponsored by Forever Young Records. Vinyl copies available at Forever Young Records only. For more info on Texas Blues Radio Volume 5, visit knon.org. Your ears been bending for some blues? Well, feed them the real thing with Texas Blues Radio Volume 5.
Jim Schutze back with Get Off My Lawn. We have several people named Michael lined up to talk to us, and let's try one of them. Michael, are you there?
Yes, sir.
What's up, Michael?
Hey, I was the first Michael, but I wasn't the second or third Michael. I'm only really calling to let you know I wasn't trying to call to harass you. What about this Craig Watkins thing? I'm not Craig Watkins.
Oh, sure. And that's a good point. We need to come to that too, Michael. Thank you. And I think as long as we're taking care of Michael's, I think we got another Michael on the line. Other Michael, are you there?
Yeah, how you doing?
What's up, other Michael?
Well, I'm just calling in. The only thing down here, see, this is what black people know in this town. Some black people, the smart ones.
All right.
I don't think down here now in Houston, I don't think they did wrong. They wasn't the right color. That's the only thing they did wrong. You know, and as far as Craig Watkins, what about find those prosecutors that sent them 20-something innocent people to prison for multiple decades and years, and now they got to pay them $88,000 per year. Find those prosecutors that wrongly convicted them people.
Well, Michael, let me ask you something. If you have a bunch of cab drivers at City Hall, and a majority of them are people of color, and they're saying, look, Yellow Cab is running us out of business. Yellow Cab is trying to take over the whole cab business in this city. And they're counting on Albert Lipscomb to stick up for them. But Albert Lipscomb is going every week and taking cash from the white owner of Yellow Cab. And Albert Lipscomb votes against all those cab drivers of color and supports this the white owner of Yellow Cab. Tell me how you feel about that?
Well, if he sold his vote, then that is wrong.
Well, that was the deal. That was the evidence, and you know, this is.
He ain't done nothing. As far as Senator, he ain't done nothing white people ain't did.
So what, though? What if
he ain't done nothing? The only difference it is he ain't white.
But if a white guy kills somebody, and then and gets away with it, does that mean that everybody black who kills somebody should also get away with it?
Nope. Because everybody black that kills somebody don't get away.
Well, yeah. No, listen, let me say, Michael, one thing that I do understand on your side. There's been study after study after study of the criminal justice system, and every one of them has said that the system is deeply racist. There's no question about that. That if the case I've seen studied is where you have two kids who get busted for the same crime. They both come from families with money. They can both afford excellent lawyers, but one of them's black and one of them's white. And study after study says that black kid is going to get slammed way harder than the white kid. And there's no question about that. I'm not doubting you on that. But I'm trying to get to a point about these two specific guys. Michael, I appreciate your call, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Before I blabber on, I think we got Randy still hanging. Randy, are you there?
Good morning, Jim. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, you're trying to get to the point of it, and the point is, Al Lipscomb did what you're saying did, and received money, and the other gentleman also, Caraway, right?
No, Don Hill.
No, Caraway. I'm sorry, Mr. Caraway.
Yeah, Dwayne's clean.
Well, no, Dwayne, we have a little issues with Dwayne's over the swimming pool issues that are still closed in Oak Cliff that he didn't support us when we were out front and almost got arrested, but that's a different thing. But with Don Hill, you're saying that he did this thing, but does the white man from Yellow Cab have a name?
Floyd Davis? Floyd?
Okay.
I'm going to get it wrong.
Floyd, whoever, is he in jail also at this time?
No, nothing. In fact.
And what about the gentleman with the Don Hill case that bribed him?
Now,
where does it all start?
He did serve some time.
But where does it all start? Should the person receiving the money receive more time than the person who created the whole scheme and ideal?
Randy,
who's the leader of the ship?
Randy, let me let you go, but let me go straight to your point.
Okay.
Randy raises a great point, that it takes two to tango. These corruption deals don't happen. The person taking the bribe has to get it from somebody, and there's another side of this formula, and I think we've still got somebody on one, and I don't know who it is. Michael.
Hey, Craig Watkins is my hero. You made it seem like I'm a racist. Craig Watkins is my hero. I love Craig Watkins. He's doing great things. It made it seem like I was saying to the whole city of Dallas that Craig Watkins was a bad guy. No, Craig Watkins is a good guy. And when they do things like that to black people, it's wrong. Bye.
Hey, Michael, I'm sorry. I did misconstrue what you were saying. And I'm glad you cleared that up, because Mr. Watkins is certainly not in this same profile that we've been talking about. I'm trying to get at the business of where all this comes from and how it stacks up. The bribes come from somebody, and in the case now, in the Don Hill case, Potasnik, who was the white developer who was accused of bribing him, did serve a little bit of time. A little bit. Nothing like 18 years. In the case of Al Lipscomb, the cab owner served no time. And in fact, at the end of all of this, absolutely got his way. And if anything, the city council has gone to great lengths since then, and the city manager and administration, to grant that gentleman everything that he ever wanted when he was doing it through Al Lipscomb. So it's not this isn't it's not like we catch both people in bed together and put them both in prison. We catch them both in bed together, and we say to one of them, "You're going to prison," and we tell the other one, "You go home." It isn't an even Steven picture, ever. And we could talk all day about why that is. As I said a minute ago, the study after study has come to the conclusion that a big part of the problem is that the criminal justice system in this country is simply racist when you look at the outcomes. The other part of the problem is that the people paying the bribes have great lawyers, and they know this stuff up one side and down the other, and they know what they're doing when they get into it. And what happens when the government's primary focus in a corruption case is always going to be on the elected official, white or black. Look, that doesn't the primary bad guy is always going to be the elected official, because he or she is deemed to have taken on to himself the public trust. And when you violate that public trust, that's even worse than just engaging in criminality. There's an extra element of villainy there that makes you the number one target. Everybody who's in public office needs to know that you take that office, you take that position. If you take money and sell your vote, you're going to be the government's primary focus. And so the way it works is that they go to everybody else in the case, they go to the bribe payer, and they say, look, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a defendant, or do you want to be a witness? You want to fight us, or you want to help us put this public official in the pen? And most people in that position, if they have any sense, they say, oh, let me help. Let me be a witness, because I don't want to be a defendant. So the deck is stacked against the public official who takes a bribe. And I think it's hard to argue that should not be the case. I certainly believe that the public official has an extra burden of public trust. But what is the backdrop for all of it? What's the system here? How does all of this, why does this keep happening in Dallas? What's the pattern that sets up this dismal procession? And I started to say a minute ago, the pattern has been very much in evidence, at least to me, in the last few weeks. And this has to do with a group called the Dallas Citizens Council. The Dallas Citizens Council is way back to 1937. They are dominated by two groups, kind of the way back Mossback local land-holding gentry. That's one side of them. And then the other group, who are equally important, are big public works, engineering, and construction companies. And they are all represented by the Dallas Citizens Council, and it's not hard to predict what they're going to want. They're going to want great, big, huge public works projects that benefit the land of the way back Mossback gentry types. And so that's where stuff like the Trinity River project comes from, and so on. Typically, in pursuing those ends, the Dallas Citizens Council counts on the black votes on the city council. And here's how that works. They can't actually count on the white votes in North Dallas. You have a conservative element in North Dallas, and they're sometimes described as the beginners. They're very skeptical of anything that's going to cost them tax money. So they're skeptical of these huge, big-ticket, showy projects like the Trinity River project. In my experience, the black representatives on the council look at stuff like the basketball arena and the Trinity River project, and they say, those are white people deals. We don't care about that's not our stuff. Those are just white people deals. And let them have that if they want it. It's no skin off our nose. So what does that black council representative get in return? Well, he or she gets campaign money. And the Citizens Council has consistently been the only major source of campaign money in the city for people running for office. We just don't have organized constituencies in this city. There used to be a labor, an organized labor presence that provided money. That's, for whatever reason, no longer the case. There just aren't other entities that people can go to for money other than the Dallas Citizens Council. So there they do go. And there they have been going for the last several weeks. The Dallas Citizens Council sent out a questionnaire to everybody who was running for city council, and it was 2 pages. I've seen it. It had these sort of blah, blah, blah fake questions on the front page, like what are the 3 most important things for Dallas to accomplish, what is your favorite color, stuff like, blow-off questions. And then on the top of page 2 it said, what is your position on the Trinity River project? Now that's the real question. That's what the Citizens Council cares about. They want this project done, and they don't want a bunch of questions raised. I spoke to, then after you fill out the questionnaire, if you're a candidate, you have to go in for this little school marm session with the Citizens Council where, face-to-face they question you. And it's, I don't know, the Citizens Council has a bunch of members, but you're facing just a small committee of people. It's Donna Halstead, who's their hired CEO, and then it's some of the way back insiders of the Citizens Council, people like Pete Schenkel, and I forget the other names who are sitting there, but it's like 5 or 6 people. And the candidates who spoke to me about it, and of course they spoke not for attribution, the people I talked to were people who weren't going to get the Citizens Council support anyway, but they didn't want to be named because they didn't want to have the Citizens Council on their case. That's the kind of fear and trembling that people have for the Citizens Council. But anyway, they described these sessions, and the Citizens Council went after them on the Trinity River project and said, how do you feel about the Trinity River project? They all tried to sort of duck it, the ones who were against it. They said, well, that's been passed by the voters. There's really no reason to dredge it up. And the Citizens Council people said, yeah, there is a reason. We're asking you, basically, and we want to know how you feel about it. So you weren't allowed to not have a position. And some of them, they lectured about how vicious and wicked the opponents of the project had been in the past and how angry they were about it. And they wanted to know, does this candidate agree with them? So, in other words, if you go in there and you want their money, you have got to get down on your knees and say, I promise you, I support your project, and I'll vote for it, and I'll say nice stuff about it every chance I get, and yes, I agree that the opponents of it are wicked, terrible people. In other words, you got to really drink the Kool-Aid. You don't get that money without drinking the Kool-Aid, big time. Now, the Citizens Council, and I'm going to I see break time coming up, and I'll have to finish this up in the next session, but the Citizens Council already controls, look, we got 15 votes on the Dallas City Council. They already own 12 of them. They get all the old white guys and the sort of most of the North Dallas ladies, and they get everybody else, and they get the entire Black Caucus, and most of the time they get most of the Hispanic caucus on the council because of the campaign support and so on. There are only 3 people there who go against them, and that now one of them is North Dallas representative, Sandy Grayson, and she comes from a district where there is that sort of conservative North Dallas, I don't know what else to call it, kind of a civic-minded junior league / League of Women Voters, just kind of doesn't want to be told what to do element. And then you have Angela Hunt from East Dallas, and you have Scott Griggs from Oak Cliff. They have been skeptical and tough of the Citizens Council's agenda on this stuff, and they've raised a lot of questions. And those are the 3 districts where the Citizens Council would dearly love to put those skeptics out of business and put their own people in. And they can't do anything about Grayson because she's running unopposed, so that leaves Hunt and Griggs. We'll come back to this in our last portion of Get Off My Lawn. See you in a minute. Jim Schutze, Get Off My Lawn.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
This is William, your videographer for the KNON talk shows. You can watch Get Off My Lawn by going to the knon.org website. Click on schedules to the left side of your screen. Choose Get Off My Lawn's page. Scroll to the bottom of that page. Then choose your favorite show to watch or download. This show will be ready for viewing by lunchtime Tuesday. Have a great day.
Hey, babes, take one.
Jim Schutze back with Get Off My Lawn. We've been talking about the Dallas City Council, about this dismal history of beloved and prominent black leaders in the city getting sent off to the federal pokey. Don Hill's appeal, former Mayor Pro Tem Don Hill, who's in prison for 18 years for corruption, has an appeal coming up. And we've also been talking about the larger pattern of politics in Dallas, where the only outfit you have that's organized and persistent and consistent and puts money into races in the city is the Dallas Citizens Council, which is a very elite business group. And I've been trying to convey the effect that has on the political conversation in town. Just before we left for the break, I was saying that the two seats that are up for grabs next May are places 14 and place 1, and those are the seats of 14 has been occupied up until now by Angela Hunt, and 1 is Scott Griggs in Oak Cliff. There's particular focus on those, I believe, by the Citizens Council, and that's because I was saying they already own a vast majority of the votes on the council. They get their way. So why do they have to have these last two? Well, Hunt and Griggs are both lawyers. They're both very smart, and they've both been very skeptical of the Citizens Council's primary project and goal in life, which is the Trinity River Project. And Scott and Griggs have raised a lot of very pointed criticism, not just the fact that they don't like it, but they've brought a lot of evidence to the council table to show that the Trinity River Project is like the most inefficient investment the city could make if what we're talking about is really traffic and congestion. It's the worst investment we can make. The most important investment is all those existing freeways downtown that are all snarled up, that we tend to call the Mixmaster. That's what we really need to fix. The Trinity River Toll Road goes somewhere that nobody wants to go right now. Everybody's got to go through the Mixmaster, and there's a way to fix the Mixmaster. And the State Highway Department, for years, I mean, they got all these plans to fix it. They're on the books, and they want to get going on it. The only way the Citizens Council can get the money for the Trinity Toll Road, which is, and I explained a while ago, the Citizens Council is landowners and public works construction companies. And they want the toll road because it benefits their land interest, and it's something they can build and make a bunch of money, more money apparently building it than they can make fixing the Mixmaster. So they want the toll road built, even though it's way inefficient, as Hunt and Griggs have demonstrated time and time again, as a means of reducing traffic congestion. So the only way they can get the money for the toll road is to suck it out of the Mixmaster. They have to shut down or stymie the repair of the Mixmaster in order to suck the money out of it in order to pay for the toll road. And Hunt and Griggs have been very successful in pointing that out. So, yes, the Citizens Council owns a voting majority of the City Council now, and they can count on them, but they want to shut down that criticism. They want to shut down Places 14 and Place 1 as sources of criticism of their plans. And as such, they are going to back candidates in those two districts that they can count on to toe the line for them. So what does all this have to do with Don Hill? Well, or with Commissioner Price, or with somebody earlier brought up the district attorney, Craig Watkins, or Al Lipscomb. What are the consistent themes? Now, Commissioner Price and District Attorney Watkins have not been charged, accused, certainly not convicted of anything. So we need to operate on the assumption that these are people who are innocent until proven guilty of something. Lipscomb and Hill have been found guilty. So sort of that jury is in other words. But what is the pattern here? It's always black officials taking money from rich white people. And yes, look, I said earlier, there's no question that the criminal justice system is racist. Study after study has found that. But here's another question to ponder. If I'm a black official and I know that there's going to be a particular focus on me just because I'm an elected official, and then I know there's going to be an even worse focus on me because I'm black, and I know that if I get in the ringer, if they come after me, I'm going to have less chance of getting out of it than a white guy. In fact, I know that if me and a white guy are both charged in this same crime of corruption, the history tells me that I'm the one who's going to go to the pen, and the white guy's going to walk or get a slap on the wrist. If I know all that, why would I take the chance? Why, when that white man came to me and said, hey, listen, I need some help on this project, it's a little bit under the table, we got to bend the rules a little, but I'm going to take care of you, man, don't worry about that. Why wouldn't I say, get out of my office? Why wouldn't I have a video camera going in my office so I could say, listen, Mr. White Man with the checkbook, I have videoed this interview. I know exactly what you're doing. Don't ever come back in here with that stuff, or I will turn you over to the FBI. Knowing that that's all there, why does that black official take the chance? And I'm interested. Call me up if you've got a theory. I'm at 972-647-1893. 972-647-1893. My own theory from watching this is that the pressure that the Citizens Council brings on people, white and black, on the council is very, very seductive. It's very persuasive. People in this town of all ethnic descriptions tend to give into it. And I don't know why. In the end, it's not exactly money. It's more social. I've had white office holders talk to me about the day that or the time that the Citizens Council really came after them. And you know how they come after you? It's not with threats. They try to seduce you into it, and what they're offering isn't necessarily money, at least not at first. It's more, we'll let you get in with the cool kids. We'll invite you to our parties. I had one candidate tell me that when they came after her, it was kind of like rush night at the Mean Girls sorority. They were telling her, you could come to our, you could be almost like one of us. You could be in with us, but you've got to learn how to behave. It's kind of like rush night at the Mean Girls sorority. but you're going out with the quarterback, and they think one of their members should be, and so they tell you, "Oh yes, you have cute shoes, but everybody thinks you're a slut," and most of the time it's an appeal that hopefully, if for the right kind of person, it ought to really rub you the wrong way if you have any backbone. For some reason in this city, we've got lots of people who have very little backbone where that appeal is made. And I'm not talking about black people. I think, if anything, the white people on the council are weaker about it. They give into it faster. But black leaders in this city have the same tendency eventually to give into it. A lot of those leaders, if you look back through that history, don't have enough money. This is a system that also, because we don't pay our council people, now we pay them a small salary. We used to pay them nothing. So it was a job you couldn't take if you had a family to support. You couldn't, you had to earn a living. And so you wound up with a lot of people there who already weren't making any money, and so it didn't make any difference, but they needed money. If you need money, you wake up every day and that's the first thing you think about, that you need money. That never leaves you. And so this appeal from the power structure becomes even easier for them to do, because they can say, you might get invited to our parties and we might be able to arrange for you to get some money. It's always a pittance. It's an insultingly small amount. That was the other thing I felt about the Don Hill tragedy. How could this guy get himself shipped off to prison for 18 years and he still couldn't pay his water bill? The decisions he was making, Councilman Hill's vote on these housing projects was worth millions to the developer. I'm not going to go through the whole bureaucratic explanation of it. It has to do with the law, the way the deals were set up, the tax incentives. But Don Hill's thumb going up or down meant millions of dollars to that developer. And what Hill got out of it was hundreds of dollars. That was the other terribly sad part. An earlier caller suggested that she thought that somebody like Mr. Hill could be corrupt and engage in corruption and really not believe that he was doing anything wrong. I believe that's absolutely the case with Don Hill. I watched the whole trial. I knew him a little. I watched the whole thing. He is in prison right now, I can guarantee you, trying to figure out what he's doing there, because he doesn't believe that he did anything wrong. I'm afraid if you sat, look, I won't say it again. I understand about the racism in the justice system and so on, but if you sat there through the whole trial, there was a point at which you had to say to yourself, man, they got him. They just got him. He just did this. He was corrupt. He took these bribes. These other people did shake down these developers. They might have been tricked into it a little bit. I mean, there was a guy there with a microphone hidden in his briefcase trying to get him to say this stuff, but it didn't take much tricking. They jumped in with both feet, and they had him, and they got him. And so the upshot of that is, the tragedy is that the official in these cases went for it and committed the crime and did the wrong, and the crime was not just his taking money. It was his selling out his constituents. That was the larger crime. Look around southern Dallas right now and tell me how much those officials have gotten done for southern Dallas. I know there's a lot more going on in southern Dallas now than there was 10 years ago. And it's all to the good, and that's all encouraging, but it's all private sector. Show me what the elected officials have done for southern Dallas. I see a big nothing. I see them getting invited to parties I see them taking a pittance and getting nothing back for it for their community. That's the real sin. That's the betrayal of public trust. It's not so much the putting the money in your pocket, it's the voting the wrong way. And the voting the wrong way is a product of this system we have generally in Dallas politics, where the politics is still dominated by one small group with its own small agenda. It doesn't come, I don't believe, it doesn't come to the game hoping to benefit the community. It comes to the game hoping to benefit itself. And it's pretty good at doing just that. That's a contrast between Dallas, for example, and Fort Worth. Fort Worth has a history of these old wealthy families like the Basses and so on using their influence to benefit the city. In Dallas, our tradition is those same kinds of people using their influence to benefit themselves. Not all of them, not all of them. I'm making big generalizations here. There are lots of people, you look at the people who push for Clyde Warren Park, that's an absolute, a wonderful accomplishment. And so is Belo Park downtown. There are lots of people who are trying to do good things. I'm speaking about a small group within that group. Oh wow, look, right here at the end when we got no time, we've got all these callers. I have one saying, how do I know that the Citizens Council does not make threats against the City Council? No, they don't have to do that. They're too smart. They don't have to do that. Why do you have to make threats against somebody if you can get his vote by inviting him to a party? And on line 4, we have Not Mike. Not Mike, how are you today?
Good morning, Jim. Real quick, I can agree with you that the system, the way things work here in Dallas, is the reason for the problem. But now, for the life of me, I cannot understand how in the world they gave Hill 18 years. That was just overkill in my estimation. I mean, if he had brought a gun to City Council and shot somebody, he could have gotten the same time. Yeah. I'm going to hang up and let you comment.
Yeah, Mike, I was stunned by the sentence. Now, I can tell you what the explanation is probably in the judge's mind. It's setting an example. We've got to set an example to make sure that nobody does this again. We want everybody on the City Council to know, don't take that bad money, because remember what happened to Don Hill. And I can see that. I get the reasoning. But how about this? How come we don't want to set an example on the white guy who paid the bribe? What if we said, and Mr. Potasnik, you're going to prison for 18 years too. So we got equal examples here. We got an example for the guy taking the bribe, and we have an example for the bribe givers. And so that from here on out, every contractor, every bidder, everybody who has to do with City Hall will think, oh, remember what happened to Potasnik? He got 18 years. I'm not ever going to offer anybody down there a bribe. Wouldn't that example work just the same? That's the other problem with all of this. It's so hard to get back to legitimacy in any of it because of the color issue, because of the incongruity of how these things are handled. Everybody forgets we did have one white council member who did get sent to the pen back in the day, Don Fielding. And my predecessor at the Observer, Laura Miller, was one of the people who, she did the stories that got Lipscomb sent up. She was all for sending up Lipscomb. He was a terrible guy. Laura defended Fielding to the end. I forget what Fielding served, but it was nothing like what Don Hill is. And, there's always going to be that terrible, terrible discrepancy and that problem, and it just makes it hard to get to any of these issues because you're always going to have that one in the forefront What's the difference between the black guy and the white guy? The black guy goes up the river, the white guy goes home. Jim Schutze with Get Off My Lawn. I told you it was the darkest hour in radio. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.